these kind of roses are the ones that grow new canes from the base of the plant. They have their heritage can be traced back to the old European roses, the old centifolias, the old damask, and the old gallicas, and that's why they all have that characteristic in common, unlike the other ones that do the sort of build up as a structure. So these kind of roses, you have a lot of flexibility in how you want to prune them. You can leave them fairly high, 3, 4, 5 feet even, or you can cut them down fairly low. How you prune them is determined by how it looks in your garden and what you want to eventually do with that rose. Now what I'm going to do with this rose, because I've got a nice fence behind it, is I'm going to decide to leave it fairly high. I want a nice bush out of it. I want a full shape. The rose has actually built up a very nice structure over time, and we're going to take advantage of that. So all I'm going to do at first is basically cut the rose down to about the height that I want it to be ultimately. Then we'll go back and start worrying about making certain cuts and how we're going to finish it off. All I'm doing is just going straight through. I'm not worrying about outward-facing butt eyes and all the and angle cuts and sanitizing the pruners. That's all the stuff we talked about in the introduction video. We don't need to worry about that stuff. So we'll just do this until it's completely cut all the way across. Okay, I brought the rose down to about the height that I want it to be. Now I've got this height, and I've actually gone a little bit taller because I figured I can always cut a little bit more later and shape it up, but I can't glue canes back on again. Somehow that doesn't work. The next thing to do is to see what I'm going to take out of the middle. Now I'm not going to take a lot out of the middle. I know traditional pruning has always been to open up the middle completely so you have that complete air circulation, they call it. Think about that. The reason why you're supposed to have air circulation in a rose is to help prevent disease. Well, to me, that tells me that you're planting a rose that's prone to disease to begin with. A lot of the modern roses and the garden roses that we talk about are disease resistant, not disease proof. That doesn't exist. Disease resistant, which means that you can leave more in the middle. Now, why would you want to do that? Because personally, I like a much fuller bush, an attractive rounded shrub with flowers all over it. I just don't want flowers in a ring around it with nothing in the middle. That's why I'm going to leave it a little bit taller. So we'll take a look at some of the canes that we might want to take out. All right. I'm looking at this cane right here is probably the one I'm going to take out this year. The reason I want to do that, I want to take out a cane occasionally, is first of all, if it's an old cane and it's bloomed out and it's finished and it's done its job, basically. And by taking that old cane out, what happens is you get new canes coming from the base. Those are the fresh canes. You can see how they look like this. These are the ones that are getting me the best flower production in the upcoming seasons. Then, as these canes get older, I'll take them out, maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years. There's no hard, fast rule. This is where your gardener's instincts come into play, and that's the best you can do. And that's what you're going to want to use. So this cane starts here, it comes across here, and it's just sort of grown in a way that I don't really like. So what I'm going to do is just take my loppers and just take it out right here, completely. With that cane now gone, you can see there's a better shape to this plant already. It's more open in the middle. Again, I'm not looking for that air circulation open. What I want is to make room for these new canes to be able to grow and flower really well. Plus, that one was crossing it, and I'm going to start to get rubbing in the wind, and that can actually get you some damage in there. These older canes on the outside I'm going to leave because they're going to lend support to the new canes as they come up in the middle. And that's an important concept. Understand how these roses want to grow. Very important. They're going to put new canes up in the center of the plant. Those canes, since they're new, they're tender, they can whip a little bit, and they can't really stand on their own, basically. That's why these outer canes become a structure and a support for them. A lot better than using bamboo or tying them up with rope or string or all the other various things that we do to try to support our plants. That's what's good about this kind of pruning. So again, I'm going to have new canes from the base coming. I'm going to use these to support them. So what I'm now going to do is to go around it and start taking these outer canes down a little bit to give it the support, and we'll start to remove some of this very thin stuff as well. What I'm doing now is working on one side of the plant, and I'm taking some of these things back to where you see how this growth is all branched here in these various ways, and I want to sort of eliminate that so I can get some cleaner growth this upcoming season. Again here, kind of branched in all different ways. Let me just come down to here. Now I am cutting above a butt eye, by the way, but again, I'm not worried so much about an outward-facing eye. If I can get one, that's great. But if I can't, that's all right because, again, I want a nice full shrub. And then back here, same thing. I've got a lot of thin growth. And all I'm going to do is just take this back and clean it up. And this begins to clean the plant up. And the nice thing is, as you do this, the more you work this way and the more you start to clean the plant up, the more the plant's own structure will reveal itself to you. And that's a key as well. Not every rose prunes exactly the same way, despite what we've been told. And in this one particular case, because I've got some growth here, a little bit of dieback here, let me just take this all the way back to here. The same with this. Now these outer canes I'm also bringing down a little bit lower because they're going to develop that structure for the plant. So what I'm going to do now is just keep doing this. I'm going to do this all around the entire rose. That's about all I'm going to do with this rose, really. I think it's done. What I've done is we've opened it up a little bit, but notice when I say opened up, I haven't taken canes out of the middle. This is a different kind of opening up. This is getting rid of some of the little thin twiggy growth. But this cane that I'm holding in my hand right here, this one here that maybe traditionally you would have taken out, that's going to give me my flowers up on top here and give me that nice full shrub shape. Now the other thing I'd like to point out with this one that I did is we brought the front down a little bit. This is to sort of give it almost a mushroom cap kind of shape. Now traditionally if this rose was completely open in a bed, I would bring the back down as well just to continue that mushroom shape over. But we've decided to do something a little bit differently, and this is important because this is when the rose dictates how you want to prune it by where it's located and what you want to do in your garden. Again, this is your gardener's instincts coming into play. This rose is up against the fence. You're not going to see it from the other side of the fence. So we've left the back a little bit higher than the front to almost give an amphitheater of flowers. And that's a very, very different way of doing it. So again, let's just review what we did with shrub roses. These are the roses that shoot new canes from the base, the old European influenced roses basically. Those new canes come up from the base. They then begin to go out as the years go on, and that forms the structure for the new canes from the base. We took one old cane out of the middle to kind of clear it out a little bit and make room for new canes and to encourage new growth from the base. Then all I did was take it down to the height that I wanted it to be, cleaned up a lot of the thin stuff, decided if there was anything else I wanted to take out of the middle. In this case, there wasn't. And then I pruned it to where it is in the garden. In this case, an amphitheater shape. In a traditional shape, you might go more of a mushroom if the rose is viewed from all around. And that's all there is to it. So again, your gardener's instincts and what you want this rose to do in your garden are the most important thing that you can do when pruning this kind of rose.